Yak Gadget, made in America, based outside of Nashville, Tennessee. Yak Gadget offers all kinds of storage accessories, quick mount motor mounts, anchor systems, track mounted accessories, even paddles. Go to yakgadget.com and get your kayak decked out for your next trip out on the water.
The 153 Bait Company, based in Troy, Ohio, make everything from plastics to custom painted hard baits. Hook 'em hard and hook 'em often. All of our baits are made to order and all of our hard baits are hand painted to order. So go to the153anglers.com to place your order today.
This segment is brought to you by Jig Masters. Step up your game with high-quality performance jigs, spinner baits, buzz baits, and more from jigmasters.com. And always, when in doubt, get the jig out.
Let's go! This is the Chasing the Tide Saltwater segment on the Paddle & Fin Network. I'm your host, Dustin Nichols. So come along for the saltwater shenanigans.
That's the way to start a show right there. Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Dustin Nichols, your host on Chasing the Tide, your saltwater connection on the Paddle & Fin Podcast Network. If you want the podcast that's just down to the nitty-gritty, just talks about fishing, we don't got all them extra ad fluff and all this extra stuff in the middle, you're listening to the right one. So tune on in and check it out here tonight. I got my man, Courtney Ashburn. What's going on, man? Pedal-driven kayak charters out of Florida. What's going on, brother?
Nothing, man. Just living the dream.
Living the dream.
Yeah, enjoying my kids' spring break.
There you go. Yeah, I met Courtney at the Redfish National Championships in Gulf Shores, and kind of played tag on Messenger for a little bit before it went down. Just kind of feeling everybody out. You was kind of seeing who you fishing against. You're like, man, he fished that area too. We're gonna have to figure something out.
And then we had the margarita night.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right.
Oh,
that did. What was that place? I can't even remember what the name.
I can't remember.
Yo ho rum and tacos or something like
that.
Yeah,
that's it. That's exactly what it was.
Hey, they had some good food too. But them, how much were the margaritas? 99
cent margaritas. But then
I think they had to get a wheelbarrow. I think they had to get the hand truck and cart you to the hotel or something, man.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
That was a good time. So couple nights. We didn't hit it as I didn't hit it as hard, but
I didn't hit it as hard the main night, but
that should be on silent.
It's like what kind of show you running here?
I don't know. I didn't have my ringer turned off. I got people calling me. It's not time to take calls, so I'm gonna take care of that right now. We're gonna see what we got. Bye ringer. Here you go. All right.
Well, mine's off now.
Yeah, I know, right? We go silent.
Don't be that guy.
Don't be like Dustin. Yeah. Well, hey, what we like to do, start off the show with introducing yourself. I let everybody know who you are, but tell us a little about yourself. Give us a background. How you got into fishing and what led you into that plastic boat.
Well, I'm from Tallahassee, Florida originally. Grew up here, went to college at Florida State. And the funny thing is I grew up, bass fishing or, what everybody considered bass fishing around here. You go put some crickets and worms and stuff on a bobber and go out and go fishing and never thought much about it. And then when I got done with college, I was really into golf. Then met my wife in college, and then we went down to visit her parents when I was going to ask them if I could marry her, and they had a couple of first-generation Hobies. And I was like, hey, can I try those out? And they're like, sure. Went and pedaled around and came back in. I said, can you fish off these? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, okay. Ran down to Dick's Sporting Goods, picked up a Blair Wiggins combo, some DOA shrimp, and went out, caught a snook, redfish, trout that afternoon, and that was it. I gave up golf and started fishing out of a plastic boat. It was that simple.
Man, you caught the slam and then it was like hook.
Yep, that was it. I mean, I had done fishing off boats and stuff like that, throughout the years, but never really got into it. Going offshore never got me too excited. I mean, it just wasn't me. But I'll tell you one thing: getting that tug on light line, light tackle out of a plastic boat, man, that's just something that I think there's nothing like it. I took a charter out the other day, and it was one of my old golf buddies, and he goes, "Why don't you play golf anymore?" And I was like, I'll be honest with you. In the 20 years that I played golf, I can remember 9 golf holes that just blew me away. Just, this is gorgeous. This is amazing. I was like, I can't count how many sunrises and sunsets I've seen that just, take your breath away. I was like, and you don't get that on a golf course, and you definitely don't get it on a power boat. So
sure don't. And then the random stuff that happens on the water, it's like I'll just go into a story from over your way. It was a couple years back at on the St. Mark's River there out of Shell Island Fish Camp, and
yep.
We fish around do some salt water, then we go fish some of the rivers there, the
Wasissa,
Osissa, or whatever they are. Ostilla, yeah. And then we come back in the evenings and we go and
that's around the fort.
Paddle up river from the fish camp there, and we were slamming bass on frog. The frog bite in the evenings was awesome.
Right. Well,
it was a little dark, and we were like, man, I got to get back. I don't have my light, so I was in a Kilroy HD and I was paddling. But that boat will move for
right.
a paddle boat. It's no scuffers. It's a sit inside hybrid. And I was getting it coming across the river, just scooting. And all of a sudden, the water just erupts underneath me. And it lifts me out the water about 2 foot. And it was like I spooked a big pod of manatee, man.
That were sleeping. I bet.
They were sleeping, dude. Dude, they lift me out the water. You talking about butthole pucker?
I was just like, do you have to change your pants after that?
Bam! No, I didn't. But Chris Funk and Miss Jean Wilson, Jameson Redison, Brooks Bader, they were a little further back. We were on a little media trip for Jackson. And Miss Jean was like, Doo-doo. My nickname's Doo-doo. Okay, yeah. She's like, you okay, Doo-doo? And then Chris Funk was like, you got to change them drawers, boy.
and I can see Funk saying it too.
Change them drawers, boy. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's funny. Hey. Now I had plenty of gators around me, but I didn't know what it was, and I was like, man, what the manatee. But rewind back to a couple days before, out in front of the St. Mark's Lighthouse there, fishing in flats. And I was drifting over some stuff, and I drifted over one. I didn't know. It's like, I just saw the back, and I couldn't really make it. I was like, gosh dang, Goliath grouper.
Yeah, if you've never seen one, and you go over one, you're like, what the hell?
Oh, my God, cow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good. I just had to share that. So hopefully y'all listening, y'all probably get a kick out of that one.
Trust me, I've had my fair share of scares with manatees, and the interesting thing about out at St. Mark's is there are gators, manatees, and sharks. Yes. So you get the trifecta of what can bump you and scare the mess out of you.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
I've run into all three out there at least once.
Well, yeah. Well, you had a little background once you got into the fishing scene there. Started fishing out of kayak. You worked at a shop there in the area.
Yeah. I worked for Rob Baker at the Wilderness Way for a couple of years. When I finally got into kayaking, I started doing guided trips with different guides just because I wanted to learn.
Yes. It's a great tool to cut the learning curve. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the tourist rig is great. Everybody loves a popping cork. I mean, to this day, there is always a popping cork on my boat. It does not matter who, what, when, where, or why. There is always one on there. Just because it's simple and easy. But I started doing guided trips. I did a couple with Rob before he hired me on at the Wilderness Way. And then, I kind of decided to do a little career change. And when I did, I was like, a coat and tie just don't hack it for me anymore. And I want to do something different. And boy, I did something different. I went and started working for him and worked there a pretty good bit. And any free time I had, I was on the water. Had a young family, so didn't get out as much as I wanted to. But my parents lived about 10 minutes from my house, and so they had a pool. And at night, I'd go over to their house and I'd sit there and I'd work on top water. I'd work on jerkbait. I'd work on everything I could think of to throw, just because I wanted to learn as much as I could. And then the more and more I worked there, the more and more I learned, the more and more Rob started to trust me. And, eventually he was booked. Another guide was booked, and these guys came down from Ohio. And they wanted a trip. They were only in town for the day. And I was like, they're like, take them. I'm like, okay. So I was nervous. I'm not going to lie. I was like, man, I hope I put these guys on fish. I mean, I knew where the fish were, but there's a difference between me catching them and somebody that's never A, fished out of a plastic boat, or B, saltwater fish to begin with, to get them to do it. And I put those guys on fish. They both, one of the guys caught a slam. The other guy missed a flounder to catch the slam. And they had a ball, and I was, after that, I just started really getting into guiding. And then after I left the Wilderness Way, I was like, well, I'm going to do this full time, and I'm going to do it for myself. Didn't think about the startup costs, didn't think about insurance, didn't think about what happens when things are slow, but you know what? I'm going on my 4th year. The great thing about the kayak community is you meet so many different people, and I've met guides that are just amazing. And there are guides that I want to go on trips with. I just haven't gone to see them.
Right.
And I'm just one of those people. I always want to learn more. How much more can I learn, every day?
Exactly. That's basically what it boils down to. Is I've talked about this on another podcast a while back, was time on the water trumps it all.
Yeah.
I don't care. You can watch YouTube videos. You can watch them, them spot busters that just will tell you to go here, and they'll give you GPS points and this and that through their Patreon and this and that. But time on the water trumps all of it, because them fish aren't going to set up the same way the next time.
Nope.
So yeah, that's a big plus right there.
Yeah, and that's kind of funny. I had 3 guided trips last week, and took them all to the same place. The first day, they were in this back corner of the spot of the place that we went. The next day, I took another set of clients there. Fish weren't there, so we had to go hunt. They were in a totally opposite spot. Now, this isn't a big area. We're talking, 15, 20 acres. So we're not talking a big area.
Right.
And then the third group, they weren't anywhere there, so we actually had to go up a creek and found them up there. So it's, I kind of knew that if they're not here, then they're here. If they're not here, then they're here. But that's just from fishing it so much. Right.
Just being familiar with that area. Definitely. Yeah. Definitely. So what is it about that? You target a lot of stuff down there. What is it? How do you say it? Panacea? Yeah.
Panacea. Yeah.
And out of Wakula, out of that areas down there. Do you fish Shell Island any down that way?
I do, not a lot. I don't fish St. Mark's area a whole lot, just because there's so much boat traffic.
Yeah.
And the boaters there, they don't care if you're in a plastic boat or in a regular boat. They'll run over you regardless.
Yes.
So I stay away from St. Mark's. Plus, I can't guide out of St. Mark's because it's a national park, and you have to get a special permit to do commercial fishing out of there, which technically guiding is.
That's weird. Well, actually, in Texas, you actually got to go through the same kind of program that boat captain has to go through.
Oh, so you have to get your 6-pack almost.
Almost, yeah. Something weird. You got to actually go through like the same.
They tried to do that here.
Test. Yeah.
Well, they
for
tried
kayak.
to do that here a couple years ago, and it fell flat. So
Yeah.
I
but-
kind of wish they would.
Yeah. We weed out some of the.
Yeah.
You know what?
Yeah.
So as far as the areas you targeted in, what say for me in Texas or something like that, what differentiates the fishery there from possibly what I'd be fishing a lot around here?
Okay, so around where you are, and you and I have kind of talked about this, you got a lot of bayous and a lot of oyster reefs and stuff like that. Well, you have that stuff here. It's more marsh. Yeah. But you also have down in Taylor County, you have these big rock piles. And so it's really just like the oyster bars, except instead of having patches of oyster bars around, you have literally hundreds of yards of rock. So guys in pedal drives tend to get a little beat up around there. Yeah. Thank God for the kick up fin. Yeah. But I mean, I guess that's the biggest difference. Our negative tides are like your negative tides. When you get a real bad negative, there's no water. You got boot sucking mud, Right.
And y'all have some sand pocket grass flats kind of stuff similar.
We do.
Like we have here.
Yeah, Panacea area has more of the grass flats. Yeah. St. Mark's is oyster bars and grass flats.
And grass flats, yeah. I do like that area. There are some spots you can get away from the boats and some of the creeks and stuff there that tie in around that area.
East River bars and then go around Long Bar and head west. Yeah, I mean there's some good areas. It's just this time of year and because of COVID, if you've got $500, you can go buy you a cheap kayak and
everybody's out there. Yeah. That's that's the thing about a kayak is that you can just kind of go and get out. That's the good thing. I mean, and this year's been crazy with the COVID, and everything going on, and it's got a lot more people outside.
Well, but that's a good thing. I mean, it's growing the sport, whether it's necessarily in a good way or a bad way. It's still growing the sport.
Right. Right, for sure. So what a lot of redfish over there, a lot of speckled trout, flounder here and there. Yeah. Snook. Y'all got some areas for snook.
Actually, I guess it was 2 years ago now. It was 19. It was November 19. I was out with a friend of mine and we were fishing over in Taylor County and I caught my biggest snook. It was 29.5 inches. Woo. And blew up top water. It was the coolest thing. Yeah. I mean, I've fished snook down in Central Florida, but I mean, snook up here, there are a lot more than what people think. There are tons of them, but they're little snooklets. They're not the big boys.
Not the big boys, yeah.
I mean, they get snook all the way over to Panama City. So,
yeah. We had quite a few moving up, and I've caught a few over the years, along with juvenile tarpon in some of my little brackish estuaries I fished.
Right.
And, this freeze did us in pretty good on some of those. Those fish that had migrated, on up as we've had the milder winters the past few years.
Yeah, you told me that the fish was
it kind of it's localized. It's bad in spots, but then there's spots that made it through okay. And then you got all the drama online, and people there ain't no fish kill and this and that. Yeah.
It's all a government conspiracy.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, you see my hat. That's what it is.
I like it. Release over 20.
Released over 20. They all went home today. I released every one of them today.
Well, my daughter released her 22 today, so I was happy for her.
Sweet. Cool deal. Well, what is your favorite fish to target?
It's funny. When we were at National Championship, I was sitting there and I was listening to people and it kind of changed the way I thought about fishing. I was talking to you, I was talking to Benton Parrott, I was talking to Matt Van, and I was talking to Brandon Barton, and every single one of y'all said, we don't target redfish, we fish for trout, and redfish is a bycatch. Yep. And I'm like, Huh? I was like, I've never thought of it that way. Well, guess what? Now I target trout. Redfish is good.
Oh man, we rubbed off on you a little bit, huh?
You did, but you know what? It actually they hang out. I mean, they're fish. Okay, they all hang out in the same. They're all going for the same bait. They're all doing the same things. But once I started kind of thinking that way, I've caught more redfish.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still using the same baits. I use the same baits for it. I don't care if it's a redfish or a trout. I mean, I'm using the same baits for it, top water. But having that mindset just really, I was just like, wow, that is a huge difference.
Yeah. I mean, there's days I'll go to certain areas. I know, well, hey, it might be a little redfish heavy, but I'll have a couple rods. I'll have one on with like a spinner bait or chatter bait, but also I'll catch trout on those too.
Right.
But a lot of times if I'm slinging the wake bait up along some structure or grass lines and stuff, it's mainly the redfish that'll come out and smoke it.
Right.
A lot of times, and I do I enjoy redfish tournaments, but dude, I'm after trout all the time.
Yeah. Well, hell, if I was catching them like you are, I would too.
Sometimes they all good, man. It's just some days it's tough, and then
you're just a week late.
They move. I know. Yeah, I was about a week late on that tournament. Yeah, we had that chasing the tide in Palafin. We had a little winter trout kayak winter trout showdown. It ran the month of February. We extended the date an extra week because of the freeze over here in Texas. I think I was off the water over 10 days because of that.
Yeah.
I think I fished 3 times in the month. It was just that jacked up.
That's all right. A Florida boy still won it.
Yeah, he did. So yeah, Steve Bond ended up taking the win after a hard charge in Brian Nelly down there in Treasure Coast area.
Yeah.
Down there, put three over 30 in one day.
Yeah.
And made a charge, and then Nathan Rich in Mobile area came on Alabama.
Yep.
And then my boy Tracy Dedman round up the top 4 there. I fished it, but I rolled the prizes down to the next spots, because since I was, I'm involved with the podcast and we put it on, I still wanted to fish, so I put my money in a pot, but I rolled the prizes down just so I could add some money and fish it too, because I was like, cool, hopefully I can get on some fish. I was really wanting to break 200 inches, but it just didn't work out. I was just about 1.25 inches short.
Yeah, I was telling my daughter today, I'm like, I said, sweetheart, I was like, if this was a week ago, I was like, you wouldn't have been reeling in that 22.
Yeah.
Because why? I was like, because that would have put Daddy at over 200 inches, and we would have been cashing a check.
Yeah, getting up there. Oh yeah, it's still fun. We're gonna do another one.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is, the only reason, I don't do tournaments to win them. I mean, I do, but I don't put any pressure on myself, because that's not why I fish.
Mm-hmm.
I fish because I love it, and and going and doing tournaments like the national championship and the local one that we're doing here this weekend, it's more about the people than it is about the fishing. I mean, the fishing's secondary, but going to new areas, learning new spots, learning new techniques, talking to people about, hell, man, I had never thrown a wake bait before I went over to Alabama.
Yep.
And listening to you guys. By the way, how's that square bill treating you?
No, it's good. It's I changed the hooks out. I caught some fish a couple weeks back in our bayous on it. I've been throwing it over here. I transitioned to using it over here, and it's definitely paying off on during this time of year as the water's slowly warming back up. Then fish are still transitioned off that deep, off the shallow edges.
Right.
Some of those backwater creeks off the channel swings and stuff, and kind of like a similar pattern as it was over there. Yeah. I still can't believe how them freaking giant redfish were crushing a 2-inch square bill. It's just insane.
Hey, they're just
insane. Oh yeah. So cool deal, man. So we're gonna roll into this next little subject here. We're gonna talk about some of your rod and reel combos. So it's called Pick 3. Pick 3. So you got 3 combos you can take on the water with you. Only 3.
Okay.
Let me know the setup, spin cast, bait cast, and then what's tied on.
Okay. Well, I'm a traditional Florida boy, so it's all spin. I hadn't gotten into the bait casters, even though some of my friends swear by them. I think I'm just mentally challenged when it comes to throwing those. I think it's my I think it's because I don't like to bass fish, so I'm not going to sit there and learn how to throw a bait caster. Let's see. I always have a top water, which would be a Daiwa Fuego LT 2500 with 15-pound Power Pro on a Shimano Terramar, Southeast, 7-foot, medium heavy, extra fast tip. That's my top water, which is what I throw 99.9%. Yeah. And that's just me. The people I took out the other day, the wife had never thrown top water before. It took her 3 casts to get it down to where she was good enough to where it wasn't, here, let me yank it out of you.
Skimming over the water, just skipping.
She caught a 19-inch trout on top water, and she's like, that's it, I'm hooked. That's all I'm throwing from now the rest of the day. I'm like, okay. So I got a convert. My second setup is a Daiwa Fuego LT 2500, 15-pound Power Pro, and a buddy of mine over here started doing custom rods about 4 or 5 months ago, and he built me one. It's a Rain Shadow is the blank, but he built me that, and I tried it out today, and I love that thing. And then so that's always a soft plastic or a jerk bait type of bait for me. And then, like I told you, I always have a popping cork.
Yes.
And that's the only thing that I have that's not Daiwa as far as the reel goes. That's a Penn Battle 2 2500 on, I think it's on a Penn rod too, but I mean the rod doesn't matter to me for that anyway.
You throw a longer rod with your popping cork, like a 7.6 or a 7.0?
Everything I throw 7 foot.
7.0, yeah.
Some guys throw 7.4s, some guys throw 7.2s, some guys throw 7.6s. I saw a guy throwing an 8 foot. I'm like, okay.
Whoa. Yeah, all my popping cork is a 7. It's a 7 foot. But all my other rods are my plastic rod is a medium light, extra fast.
Yep.
And it's 6.9. I throw, and then my corky rod and my top water rod, they're all 6.9 medium. And then I have a medium heavy also that I throw like my spinner baits and chatter baits and stuff on.
Right.
And I mainly throw 20-pound Power Pro, the V Slick 2, the Super Slick V2. Yeah, in the onyx color. And then if I'm throwing plastics, I'll have a 20-pound, length to 20-pound fluoro and here and that, tie my corkies with a loop knot and all that good stuff. But like you're saying, whether you had that lady throwing the top water the other day, what I like to tell people, to try to get their cadence down. I said, just twitch your rod and just Mary had a little lamb.
That's exactly what I tell every single
Mary
client.
Had a little lamb. Please put my ass no.
And I was like, and that is the greatest song to learn the cadence because it can be fast or it can be really slow. Yeah. And and that's so funny that you said that.
And then you work it from there and kind of change it up like a 1-1-2 stop, 1 2 3 4 pause, 1 2 3 4 pause. You kind of just Yep.
Yeah. One of my clients that's coming down next week for his son's spring break. He called me the other day. He goes, I want you to know that I absolutely hate that song now. And I was like, I was like, hey man, I was like, does it work? He goes, yeah. And I was like, okay, then
Yep.
don't worry about it.
Don't worry
I was
about
like,
it.
I find myself singing the stupid song.
I mean,
So-
some days, like if they're a little deeper and I'm calling them up with a one knocker, I'm just like twitch, 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 kind of more deliberate,
Yeah,
like
just a-
single slashes, and they're getting a longer, slash.
Yeah.
And then today I told myself I'm about to do some Mary Had a Little Lamb, and I actually was doing Mary Had a Little, and then I was like, oh, there he is. I was like, oh yeah, that still works.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny how that works.
Mm-hmm.
And a guide that I went on a trip with down in Cars Park down near Mosquito Lagoon, Alex Gronke, I always butcher his last name, but when I fished with him and I was working top water, Mary Had a Little Lamb, he goes, no. He goes, to catch him here, you have to go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It's got to be so slow and deliberate.
Yeah.
And big swings. And
Big swings. Yep.
And so when Mary's not working, I'll start doing that. And it's amazing. Just that little bit of change in cadence.
Changing tempo and cadence. Yep. Or changing, like today, at first they were just like smacking it, knocking the top water out of the water.
Right.
I was like, what's going on? I said, okay, I'm going to change colors. And I put like a silverish kind of mullet color on. Same thing. Then I put one that was dark and it had a long, like a chartreuse lime green belly.
Yep.
Squash! And they just crushed it. Like I started slamming them on that. And I threw like bone. I caught some on a bone and silver, but man, that lime, it was almost like
lime green
brown. It was almost like a brown, like a pumpkin color with a chartreuse belly. It's a custom color.
Oh, okay. I was going to say,
for me.
I was like,
yeah,
I got pretty much every color one knocker they make, and I haven't seen that one.
It kind of looks like a key lime pie, but without a white tail on the top water bait. Yeah.
Well, you got to give me whoever makes your custom ones, because I'm always looking for. Huh?
Yeah, they were crushing that. My boy Chris the Odd, Salty Plugger. I'm gonna have to hook you up. Send you some that way. He paints corkies and all kinds of stuff too. He does some good stuff. His wake baits are really, really, really good.
Huh. Cool.
He does some good stuff. Yeah, man. So we kind of touched on that a little bit, but tournaments and all that. You say you got one coming up this coming weekend on the.
It's a Wakulla County only tournament, which means you can only launch in Wakulla County.
Huh. And who's that put on through? Is it put on through?
It's just it's put on by a guy that does Airbnb here, and part of his Airbnb is he offers fishing trips.
Cool.
But the proceeds go to the Gulf Coast Marine or Gulf Specimen Marine Lab in Panacea.
Oh yeah, that place is cool. Yeah.
So it's actually for a good cause. Back in the day, they used to have a real good tournament over here, and it was the BBKC, Big Bend Kayak.
Yes.
And that was for Meals on Wheels, and that was freshwater or saltwater. You could fish either or, and you had some guys that actually fished both in the same day.
Oh, that's awesome.
But they used to have some good tournaments over here. There's not many anymore, so which is unfortunate. Tournaments aren't what they used to be. People got greedy and started cheating. Yeah,
that's an issue we have here. Then it kind of affects the way people judge and some rules they make, and some of them don't make sense. But it is what it is. If you want to fish a tournament, you're gonna just have to deal with it.
Yeah, well, I fished a tournament a couple of months back, and in the rules it says that the hand cannot cover the gill plate.
Yes, I fished that one too,
and I think
I messaged somebody myself, and they didn't even do anything about it. They said, "Well, we'll get with the TD," and then never heard anything about it. And then those fish were. Yeah, and then there was restraining devices. Yeah, there was restraining devices over them, all kind of stuff. Yeah.
Oh, I had the TD write me back about that and said, "Oh, don't worry about that rule. We're not enforcing it."
It's on the page. It's on the event page.
Why is it a rule?
Yeah. I like black and white. If it's a gray area, I'm calling them out.
Yeah.
I'm quick to. Oh,
Well, I'd
I'm
rather talk to somebody and say, "Hey, did you see this?
Mm-hmm.
I can't count your fish because this is the rule." You know,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's kind of like wearing a PFD. When we had
Right.
local tournaments over here one year, 3 guys would have won the tournaments, but
They're
they sit
PFD.
there and take a picture like this, which I've never understood.
Yeah,
I'm like,
get that.
and they don't have a PFD on. Well,
Yeah.
man, it says you have to have a PFD on.
Yep.
But anyway, whatever. That's
how it is.
yeah. That's tournament fishing.
Definitely. So, the hot topic of the podcast. No. Oh, Mr. Largemouth Bass or Mr. Redfish?
Redfish.
Which
Redfish
which one's the best blow ups?
Oh, I still say redfish.
Still
A
redfish?
big bull red on top water versus a bass. I'll take.
Yeah.
Hell, I'll take a trout on a blow up on the top water over a bass. It's just.
I don't know. I've had some sick frog bites, man, that are just pretty stupid. But
well, that's also coming from somebody that sucks at bass fishing. So.
But yeah,
I don't spend enough time with Gene and Brad Case and those guys. I mean,
I'll give it to the redfish too, because it's just I get some sick frog blowups from the redfish too in the grass.
Right. Yeah.
but you're gonna you get all the bass guys that are like, man, anybody can fish saltwater. Anybody can fish. Well, come on and fish some tournaments, buddy. Come on.
Yeah. Well,
come on.
I mean,
try to catch some checks over here. I go over to your side and catch some checks. I will come over there and catch some checks with y'all sometimes.
Well,
every now and then.
But bass fishermen like to sit there and beat the same 50-yard piece of bank for forever. I'm like, no, I can't do that. I don't know if I have ADHD or not, but I can't sit still.
That's my Achilles heel sometimes, because I'll move. I mean, I'll break down an area. Like, it depends on how I'm fishing the area. I'll treat it like a small body of water itself inside the bigger lake and break it down. Just because, I mean, I've bass fished since I was a kid. I enjoy it. I still do. I don't do it as much. So, yeah, a lot of tournaments I might just roll in blind, no pre-fishing or anything. And if I hit them, I hit them. If I don't, I don't. It's just fun. I still enjoy it. I still enjoy competition tremendously, being that I don't skate and surf, and compete not anymore like I used to. The fishing is pretty much taken over.
Funny how that works, isn't it?
Yeah, that works out.
The harder that stuff gets.
Yeah. I mean, I still go cruise around and stuff, but it's just that time on the water is what I enjoy right now, big time.
You secretly want Brooks Beatty's one wheel.
Oh, I would ride that all through ICAST. Yeah, I would have done it. I'd have been. Yeah, those things are pretty trippy though. I rode one at Pack and Paddle last year.
Yeah,
they're kind of weird to get used to at first, but once you get used to them, it's just like a snowboard with a wheel on it. Yeah. It's pretty cool though.
I guess the last time they had ICAST, him and Jameson were cruising around on it, and I'm like, you guys are idiots. I was like, y'all are gonna run over the wrong person.
Yeah, that wouldn't have been good. Exactly. Yeah. So we touched on some trophy trout earlier, but we're gonna hit on again. I have a love-hate relationship with them.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts? Because that's how I am. I mean, chasing them, and what makes us with that mindset to stay on the water all day. Some days you don't even get bit. I mean, some days you might get one bite and she comes off, and that was your one shot. I mean, there's days it happens. What drives you to do that? What makes you stay on the water?
Just learning. I think that's what it is especially on those days where it's a tough bite, it's a hard bite, and you finally get that one hit and you get freaking antsy like it's your first day out there, and you're like, oh, and you just pull it and you just sit there and dog cuss yourself for about 20 minutes. I mean, that's what keeps me coming back, is like, and it's like I tell my clients and I tell everybody about just kayak fishing in general. Anytime I go out, I want to be learning something, whatever it is, whether it's a color, whether it's a cadence, whether, it's depth, whatever. I want to be learning something. And I mean, we've all had days where you go out and you don't get bit and you're just frustrated and mad. And, one of my buddies likes to say he throws his sucker in the dirt. And, that's, I guess, getting that one bite like today, getting that big hit and it's so explosive and just, you're just like, oh, thank you, Lord. You actually breathe after you get that one big blow.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, now, when you miss it,
your heart races, all that. But here's the thing.
Right there, but
to all you got some bass guys listening in, we don't have our drag welded shut like you do when you're fishing for bass. No. And that's the thing. And if your redfish and trout are in the same area, you don't want to run that drag tight anyways, because there's a chance because a lot of times I'll pick some bigger trout off the ass end of a redfish school. Sometimes when I'm sight fishing, I'll see a bigger trout cruising the rear with them. But, I'll back my drag off. It's more of, you got to finesse them in. You can't really just horse a big trout in. You got to let them do their thing, violet head shakes and everything. Hope they don't sling the hook on you. There's a lot more to
single hooks like I do.
Yeah. Is that with the grass and stuff?
No, have to deal with just, some stuff? Honestly, the other day I was fishing and I was using trebles for some reason, and I caught a pretty decent. He's probably 21, and I'm sitting there and I got it on the fish grips. And I'm trying to take the hooks out of him, and he shakes, and sure enough, hook goes in my finger. Yeah, and I'm sitting there just dog cussing that trout, and I'm like, this is why I use single hooks, because I only got to worry about one flying back around and catching me, and 9 times out of 10 they don't. But I found that my hookup ratio is a little less with a single hook, but when I catch it, it's caught.
When you connect with them, it's stuck.
When I button it up, it's done.
Yeah. I haven't transitioned. I have some rigged up that if the grass is super bad, I tell myself I'm gonna use them, and then I don't.
You're like, nope, I'm like,
no. But like today, they were just engulfing it, dude. They were crushing it, doing cartwheels over the freaking top water and everything for about 2 hours. And it kind of slowed down, and I've kind of backed off and started throwing a corky in like a 3 to 5 foot range, kind of counting it down, and then slammed a couple more, and then caught some on plastic. And I was like, okay, I'm done. I caught enough fish today. This one in day.
My arm's tired. I'm sick of reeling these things in today.
I lost a couple good, pretty good ones today. But it just, you learn. You just learn. Yeah. Maybe I was a little too quick setting the hook, and it just only got one in them, and she shook and do their things, and those big trout are coming up and just
bully it in.
Yep.
And those trout got that soft mouth, and I lost 2 or 3 the other day sitting there just trying to horse them in instead of just take your time. His bite was slow, and I had to do something, and that's how you get heartbroken right there.
Yep. I had some heartbreak this morning. I was pretty bad. It's all good, though. That's part of it, man. That's what keeps you going back for more.
Exactly.
Well, man.
That rod.
Well, but look, man, I appreciate you coming on tonight.
I appreciate
talking about all this and letting all the listeners get to know you a little better and talk a little bit about some fishing and all that. We're going to wrap up the show here, but I want to give a shout out to David Flad, Release Over 20. He's got a good initiative going. We're trying to push that, be a little more conservation minded. I learned about the program last year, kind of been pushing it here and there, and letting all my fish go over 20. But I keep a few and eat. But after the freeze and all that, I'm definitely I let all of them. Let all of them swim today, actually. But hey, it's your right. There's some drama going on and this and that. I'm not going to badmouth you for keeping fish. because I'm gonna keep me a couple every now and then, take them home, make fish tacos. I like fish tacos. My wife and my daughter does too.
Nothing wrong with that.
So you pay for that with your license, and that's within your right for the creel and bag limits. But just be a little more conservation minded. Let those breeders swim. It's always a good thing. So shout out to
changed our limit.
20. Y'all did?
Yeah. It's or the length. It's not. It's you can keep 1/19 now. It used to be 1/20.
And they lowered it.
Yeah, and then they changed it for charter captains. Charter captains used to be able to keep their catch on a paid trip, and they can't do that anymore.
Oh, changing it up a little bit. Well, I'm curious to see what after their GillNet servos and stuff in April here. The changes can't happen until September 1st, but if they do put anything on the table, so we're curious to see what's going to happen. Everything else, I know the Star tournament has made some adjustments. Sure. I know a couple other big tournaments that benefit like Star and some other stuff. The Babes on the Bay, I know they're looking to go CPR. I know some other tournaments like that are, and I know some of the kayak tournaments. A lot of them. Our redfish tournaments are live weigh-in. So as long as we can keep those fish, healthy and in live well and release them, that's always a big plus too.
Right.
So yeah, man. Yeah, I just want to give a quick shout out there, and then let you have the stage, man. You want to wrap it up? Tell everybody about your guide business there and what you offer, and then give some shout outs and stuff, and we'll wrap the show up.
All right. Well, the name of my business is Pedal Driven Kayak Fishing Charters. It's www.pdkfc.com. We do 5-hour guided trips out of Hobies. Been using Hobies since I started. I'm kind of weird that way. I just think they're the best, so that's who I go with. I do 2 people at a time, up to 2 people at a time. I don't like doing more than that, just for it's like herding cats. I provide all of your tackle. I provide the kayaks. I provide lunch. I provide pickup service. And if you want to keep fish, you have to tell me ahead of time. Otherwise, we're just going to go have a good CPR day.
There you go. Yeah, and if you're watching it on YouTube, or if you're listening and want to tune in, watch it on YouTube, I got his webpage up there on the screen right now. Get to check it out.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah, little share screen. That's the benefits of the StreamYard, man. This has been really cool, kind of adjusting to this. So we're going to. And that is your correct Instagram, right? RCGA9174.
Yeah, that's my personal one. My business one is at PDKFC. But
at
PDKFC. Pedal Driven
PDKFC.
Yep.
Oh, PDKFC. How about that?
Who knew? I have one simple rule, and it's KISS. Keep it simple, stupid.
There you go. How about that?
How about that? I like it.
So, yeah, give us a follow. You can give me a follow there, Dustin Nichols VTX, and Courtney there, RCGA9174 for his personal page, and his business page for his pedal-driven kayak charters, PDKFC on Instagram. And actually, he has a Facebook page also.
Yeah, but I can't remember that one. So
look up actually in the website is pdkfc.com.
Yeah.
So check that out. Give him a look if you're in the area, around Tallahassee area. Give him a shout.
I go anywhere from Keaton Beach all the way to Lanark Village, so I cover pretty good amount I cover 3 counties. So I put some miles on my truck. That's for sure.
There you go. You got any sponsor shout outs or anything you want to give?
I do. I want to give a shout out to Yak Attack on the regional staff, to Egret Baits. I love me some Voodoos. Columbia Sportswear, been with them for 3 years. And my wife and kids, because they keep me going every day and they're full of support. So
awesome, man. Awesome, dude. Well, cool deal, man. Well, I'm glad we struck up friendship there in Gulf Shores and continue this, and hopefully going to get on the water with you soon and make a trek over that way.
I need to
I'm
make
son
one
of
your
my
way
time
too.
off, and
So.
you come over here in the fall and get in on that schooling redfish action.
I'll definitely come over for that.
Get ready for that, man. But yeah, once again, this podcast wouldn't be where it is without the listeners. So thank you everybody that tunes in and listen to this bi-weekly on the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network. Thanks to Waterloo Rods and Truchador Co. for support of this segment. And just everybody get on the water. Go catch some fish. Use some of the stuff you hear from this
Use
podcast.
top water.
Yeah,
Only
top water. Mary had a little lamb.
Right.
Little lamb. Get after it. So, yeah, thanks to everybody tuning in. Dustin Nichols, Chasing the Tide. We enjoyed having you on, Courtney, and we'll see everybody next time.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for tuning in to another killer episode on Paddle and Fin. Don't forget to go check out our website at paddle_and_fin.com. Don't forget to check out the YouTube channel at Paddle and Fin. If you got a question, comment, want to hear from a future guest on a future episode, feel free to email us at paddle_and_fin@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Paddle and Fin on Facebook and Instagram. Shout out to our show supporters, Angler. The Angler button and app just makes for a better time on the water and creates a virtual logbook for every fishing outing out on the water. Shout out to Rocktown Adventures, located in northern Illinois, for all your kayaking, camping, and hiking needs. Shout out to Jig Masters Jigs. When in doubt, get the jig out. Go to jigmasters.com